First of
pleasure.
all, I would love to congratulate you for this new album you record with Bill Evans.
Okay.
And the first question would be, how did you got along with Bill, and how did you decide to do this record
Yep.
together?
Well, I've known Bill for a very long time. We really didn't work together until I think it was around 2000. Hard to remember exactly. 2007. I'm not sure.
That's okay.
But he called me, and we had met, but not played together in the past. So he called me and asked if I'd be interested in touring. And we toured Europe for about 3 weeks, I think, that year. And then I did another 3 gigs with him a little later. And then we did a week together in New York at the Blue Note. And so, you know, we always had a good musical exchange there. And he now lives in Nashville, which is where I was living before I moved to Paris recently. And my record company, Ear Music, they were opening a jazz label. I had dinner with the head of the company. I just happened to tell him that, you know, I had this project with Bill Evans that I was going to produce myself. He said, let's do it with the record company, and you know, we'll release it as our first release on our new jazz, you know, reopening of a label that had existed in the past. And so indeed, we cut our record in Nashville. It was released as The Sun Room. That's the name of the first record. So, you know, they were interested in doing more. And so we did another record. It's been a little while now. It took a while for this thing to come out. We cut this in 2020. But it's still great music. And Bill and I have been out on the road playing it, but there has been no release, you know. So it's really, you know, it's wonderful that we actually, you know, get to put this record out now.
Yeah, if you record it in 220, I mean, you would have the pandemic, you know, in the middle. So how did you do? Because I guess you recorded playing live, or you got, how was that?
Oh, this was before the pandemic hit. We recorded in January 2020. So the pandemic didn't really, you know, become an issue until March.
Okay.
Yeah, so we were all in the studio live. Yes, it's a very live record.
Yeah, that's why that's how it sounds. So I was thinking, and what about the songs? Some of the songs are yours, Bill. You composed together. How was that?
He wrote and I wrote separately. We didn't write anything together, and it's about an even split, I think.
Yeah, I think it's nice because, I mean, even it's for me like very jazz fusionist stuff, but you have some blues, you have some, you know, something more soul, or so.
Yeah,
there's a lot of variety, and actually there's like the song Pasaic that you start in a 7/4, and it's kind of blues, but in 7/4. Did you do that, or was Bill's?
Yeah, that's my song. There were 2 records, 2 songs on that record that were very directly inspired by Miles Davis's Jack Johnson record. And you know, there's a song on there called "The Little Boxer," and this, you know, I wrote in tribute to Miles Davis, and it was inspired by the song "Yesternow," which is on the Jack Johnson record. It's a very old record, but man, it's still a very contemporary record. Cool sounding record too, very different. And it even influenced kind of the way I wanted to mix the album. I did produce both of these records. And the other is Passaic. And there's a thing, Herbie Hancock comes in on the end of the opening song on the record. And that rhythm is a take on a rhythm that he played. So, you know, it's always something I look for, you know, little things in music that I really like that can inspire me to write. You know, they take me in a different direction. I don't copy, you know. I'm inspired by something that I hear, and I very deliberately take it in a different direction, you know. So these two things were, yeah, my compositions. And I have to say, The Little Boxer is probably my favorite.
Is the last song of the CD is very nice. Yeah, I
Yeah.
really like all the songs, and also I like the starting song on the CD is very strong, and you have like mixing like, you know, jazz, but you have like some power chords or you know, strong
Yeah.
rhythm guitar, which I think it's a great mix.
Yeah, that's Bill's composition there.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned Miles Davis, but it's fun that you and Bill were playing both with Miles Davis, but I think you never got to play together, right? I think you used to play
No,
with Bob Berg on saxophone.
Bob Berg, that's right, yeah.
Okay, well, that's funny. You know, I was long time ago in a Bill Evans clinic, and he told he told us a funny story about Miles that he bought a Ferrari and they got out of gasoline in the middle of Harlem, and it was like crazy. And I wanted to ask you about your Miles Davis experience. What did you learn from him? How was it? And if you have any special story that you could share us.
Well, you know, it was certainly an incredible experience to play with. You know, I mean, he is my ultimate musical hero. And I mean, I've probably listened to more Miles Davis records than any other single artist, you know. And to play with him, I never expected. So I was certainly happy to get that opportunity. You know, I'd listened to him so much all the way up until playing with him that I felt like most of the lessons had been learned by the time I got there, you know. But I learned a musical device that I incorporated quite a bit in my playing for quite a while, that was the real kind of the cherry on top for me of working with him. I learned this musical device from the keyboard player. Miles had shown him. He said, "This is what I want you to play behind me." So I don't know if I would have figured that out on my own, honestly. So it was shown directly to me. And that was a real priceless kind of direct instructional, you know, harmonic device that I was really happy to get. The fact that he treated me, you know, he wanted to be friends, you know. I mean, he was really an intimidating person. When I say he wanted to be friends, I mean, I think he was actually a friendly person. You know, I don't think anyone thinks of him that way, but he liked people who could hang with him. So you had to figure out how to hang with him. And that was a challenge. And it was also, you know, like a life lesson, you know. It's like, and so he would be very, you know, he would just say things to you that would throw you off balance, you know. And so you just say something back to him and he would laugh. And I think most people were afraid to do that. And that's what made the difference. That's what, you know, broke the ice, you know, for me with my relationship to him, when I realized, oh, you're just messing with me, you know. So to have that kind of a breakthrough, and I felt like he and I really connected, you know. I think he actually liked me, and I certainly, you know, was to some degree in awe of him, you know. But I also liked him. He was a very genuine person. He was very genuine, you know.
Oh, that sounds great.
Acerbic, you know, challenging, but what you see is what you get, you know.
Yeah, I think that Miles was great, and one thing that made him so great is how he would manage the band with all the musicians and could make a solo. There's like some solos that start just here and it raise, and how he controlled the.
Mhm.
Did you learn about that with him? It was.
Well, yes, that was sort of a double-edged sword because generally when it was your turn to play, improvise, solo, it was on 10. It was just pushing, pushing, pushing. And so it was very difficult to like just kind of relax and take something from, 20 miles an hour to 100, I mean, he started at 100, the intensity level. So that was kind of a drag, a little bit of a drag. But the other side of it was the way he played the band. It's like the way, the band would stop and start and break, and you just hear synthesized sounds. The drums would come in, easily, and then you're in this other kind of atmosphere. But you rarely got to play in any way other than full on 100%. He was directing, you weren't. He was playing you, using you. So it was a little weird that way.
That's good. That sounds good. I wanted to ask you about your playing, because you have played in the jazz environment, like with Miles and this new CD, but you are mostly known also like as a blues player. I would like to know if you feel more comfortable in blues, jazz, or doesn't matter to you.
It doesn't really matter. I can tell you this, there are so many factors, in a musical situation, because it's not just the music you're playing, it's who you're playing with, it's where you're playing, it's what gear are you playing through. It just isn't a simple answer in any way, shape, or form. But I can tell you this, that I think perhaps my favorite thing that I've ever done was the Miles Smiles tribute band. So this is interesting. We're talking a lot about Miles Davis because this record is Bill and me.
Yeah, sorry.
But it was actually my idea. I don't know if you're familiar with it, and there's some YouTube performances from 2015, and it's the Miles Smiles band, and it's Daryl Jones on bass, Omar Hakim, Wallace Roney on trumpet, Rick Margitza on tenor saxophone, and Joey DiFrancesco on organ, and me on guitar. And that band, like everybody in that band was playing Miles Davis's music, and like everyone in the band is serving the music. They know how that music is supposed to go. We all understood Miles Davis's music, from a certain period, of course, since he went electric. And it was like, and we knew how to play it. And we were all serving his music. So it takes all the ego out. Everybody's pointed in the same direction. Nobody's leading because we all know what to do, And so that, plus the fact that, electric guitar was, as very prominent in Miles's music, and being a blues player, totally fit, and I'm playing with the best musicians on their instruments, basically. There aren't any better guys than these guys, and we're all playing somebody else's music. That's beautiful.
Yeah, let's go back to the album. Sorry for that.
Okay.
Yeah, now that you're talking about the musicians, I think Daryl Jones, Keith Carlock sung great on the album, and there's like a couple of kind of drum solos. I don't know if full drums, but there's like featuring drums, and Daryl's grooves are incredible. How is playing with these guys, and also how long does it take you to record to rehearse these songs, and how many takes do you need? I'm like timing. Tell me a little bit about that.
Yeah. Trying to remember, I don't think we had a rehearsal with the Sunroom. The first album, we took a day and rehearsed the music before we went into the studio. So, but with this, I think Daryl, like he showed up the day of the first recording date. Like he couldn't be there to rehearse, and the rest of us lived in Nashville at the time. You know, Bill still lives there. Keith Carlock, the drummer, lives there, and I was living there at the time. So it was easy for us, you know, just to roll over to the studio. It was a great studio. It's now closed, which we're all very sad about. So everybody was so quick, you know, to learn the music and play it. I mean, I don't know. It's, you know, musicians of this caliber, you know, they know how to work, you know. And I mean, it's kind of surprising to me, but you know, you can take a song in, it's a brand new song, no one's ever played it, you know. You run through it a couple of times, stop, talk about this and that, and then hit it, and it's like, bam, you know, you have a performance. So we cut the record. I think the tracks were cut in 2 days, you know.
Wow,
we might have been 3.
That's impressive. And when you do like these recordings, which is played live, and I guess you do like some takes of the song, you have a lot of criticism? I mean, imagine you're playing like one take that is great in all senses, but maybe in your solo you say, "Oh, I hate this phrase I did here," or whatever. You would overdub or just leave it like that, and you know, or you know?
Well, Bill did a lot of overdubbing. You know, he took it home, and he did a lot of overdubbing. Yeah. You know, I myself, I think I went in for a day and did, yes, I did. For one day I went in and, you know, like I added acoustic guitar to a couple of things. I replayed my solos on a couple of things. But, you know, especially with records that are made like that, you know, I find myself, it doesn't matter what I come back in thinking I'm going to make this better, but there's something about the live performance that I would say more often than not, I come back to it. I thought I wanted to fix it, but I'm not improving on it. And it sounded better in the live situation because of the vibe. You know, it's almost impossible to recreate that vibe, you know.
Mm-hmm.
So not a lot. In my case, not a lot. Bill is a little bit more of a perfectionist, let's say, for lack of a better word.
Well, but I think that's the best idea, to get the best take, that the whole band sounds better, and then if you have to change something, just, you know.
Yeah, that's generally the way it's done. But again, as I say, and it's really true, like I almost regret, you know, fixing things.
Okay.
Because it can't sound the same, it can't feel the same. It just can't. And that feeling of that live band playing, it's just the best, you know.
Mm-hmm. That's good. And you talk about the gear. There's like the song "Dennis the Menace" or the Menace that you do like solo with like a synth MIDI sound.
Oh yeah,
But
well, that's a little foot pedal called the iPog, or just the Pog. iPog. It's not made by.
Yeah, it's electroharmonics. It's the electroharmonics pedal, I think.
That's it. Yeah.
But
so there's an octave above and an octave below.
But you usually don't use that much, this kind of effects, right?
No, but I have used that thing in live performance quite a bit. On record, I use it. I used it a little bit on that, both the Bill Evans records. Yeah, on my own, generally I don't.
Mhm. And talking about sound, you have like a very unique sound and way of playing. But I think as a guitarist, we get sometimes too obsessed all our lives, trying to new pedals, new amps, new guitars, just trying to look for the perfect sound. With all your experience and so many years playing, you're still looking for new pedals or sounds, or you already have your gear that works and that's it?
Yeah, I never went through that. I've never been through that, and excuse me, I found my amplifier in 1993, and every record I've ever made up until the last couple have been with that amplifier, the Dumble Overdrive Special. And my guitar, for the most part, is a 1960 Telecaster, which I found 30 years ago, And I have, guitars, I have experimented a lot, but really I've just, I've been through a lot of different Les Pauls, but I haven't been through a lot of, this guitar, this company, that company. No, I've been pretty much Fender and Gibson my whole life. And it boils down to pretty much a Telecaster and a Les Paul. So pedals, more and more. In fact, I think almost always I record without effects. And we add the effects on the other side. And generally they sound better, they're cleaner. If you add it on the other side, I'll have it in my headphones, but we won't print it, And so yes, I've used vintage gear and the same gear for many, many years, and very little in the way of pedals. I use the Strymon Timeline delay, and I use the Zen Drive Overdrive. That's my pedals.
Oh, the great pedals.
Yeah.
You don't need anything else. I want to talk. There's like sometimes, like in the song that we were talking, Passaic, and some other songs.
Mm-hmm.
When you get to do your solos and you get jazzy, I love the lines you do.
Ah, thanks.
But on the other side, you seem to be like a guitarist that plays a lot of phrases, and you have a lot of pace between phrases. So it's like two round fours, right? When you get more bluesy, and because this is my personal opinion, I don't know if I'm wrong, but because you are not this kind of guys that's all day playing fast, but when you have to play a long run, fast run, you play it perfect. So how do you manage you practice a lot to do this, or it just comes natural? Because I mean, you're not all day playing like, like these metal players that, but you did perfect when you do it. So.
Well, indeed, like, I have listened more to saxophone players and Miles Davis's trumpet than any other instrument. And I like the people who sound like they're talking to me, I like when I'm listening to a musician improvise, I like to feel like he's telling me a story, he's talking to me and taking his time and leaving space. And so that's definitely been the way I developed my style on the guitar. And the blues guitar players, all of them are like that, And but I just like that extra harmonic knowledge, and expression that you find in people like Sonny Rollins and Wayne Shorter, John Coltrane, and I literally couldn't keep up with, Mike Stern, John Scofield, you know, the heavy metal guys, you know, like Steve Vai. You know, I mean, I could never keep up with them in terms of speed and, you know, the length of their phrases. It's just not the way I play, you know.
Yeah.
It takes a whole nother technique, you know. You have to, you know, literally your body, your muscles, you know, the tension. There are a lot of things that go into why people sound the way they sound. And so you, as far as I'm concerned, you know, you have to, you can't have it all. You know, you have to make choices and you have to give up, you know. You have to give up certain things in order to really do other things really well, you know. No one can play every style of music really well. Nobody, you know. And that's because you need to concentrate, you know, on whatever it is you're doing. You need to really focus your energy and really be serious about whatever that style is. And, you know, I encourage guitar players to, you know, if you're just beginning, I always encourage guitar players to study blues because that's the way I learned, you know, that's just the way I learned. And it's a great medium, a musical medium for learning the instrument. But it's a very limited one, you know. So, you can't have it all. You know, like I understand the harmony. I know how to use the harmony and play some longer lines. But fundamentally, I'm more of a blues player.
Mm-hmm. And do you still practice a lot, or right now you just like keep up with?
I never practiced a lot in my whole life. I've never practiced a lot, but I've played always, you know. And I found a few musical devices that I've really, you know, honed in on. And I also try to keep my music simple. So again, I'm always trying to find ways, like whatever it is, I want it to sound, you know, kind of song-like, you know. It's like, I feel like I'm more of a composer, something like that, you know. It's like, it's important to me that whatever it is I'm doing has a reason. I'm doing it for a reason. It's expressing something. It's not just the demonstration of a lot of things that maybe I've learned how to play, you know. So the focus is always on making music. And that's sort of like, you know, you have to allow space. You have to pause. Like a composer can take a year, you know, to write one piece of music, you know. An improviser, you know, if he's not thinking that way, basically he's just playing all the things that he's worked out. I can play this, I can play that, I can play this, I can play that, I can do this. And it's like a display, you know. I call it the Northern Lights. To me, it's like the Northern Lights. Like, wow, well, how long can you look at the Northern Lights? 5 minutes? And then you go have dinner, you know. So I just feel like, you know, whatever it is, it needs to be meaningful. And I think that takes time, and I think you have to allow space, and you have to let it evolve emotionally. And if you're just playing, you're not really saying much.
But you know, that's fun because last week Steve Vai was playing here, and I got the chance to interview him too. And he
Phenomenal.
said he told me exactly the same thing. He said, like, I see myself more of a composer than a guitarist. And
Oh, really?
Yeah, he's one of the greatest guitarists ever. But he told me that I think myself as a composer, and he told me that he used to compose the solos and stuff.
So that's it. You see, that's the composer. Like, yeah,
Oops, you froze the image.
Who play all these notes, they work them out, you know.
Yeah.
And that's why they're able to play them. You know, they do. Eric Johnson, you know, like, this is the solo for this song. Steve Vai, this is the solo for this song. You know, so it's not improvisation. it's a, yes, it's composition performance, you know?
Yeah.
So I totally understand that. Yeah, he's an insane guitar player.
Yeah.
Wow.
But I think that all the greats like yourself are so great just because of this, because you think what's best for the song, and even you're comping. I love the way you come. Actually, there was a song I was gonna tell you that I think the second song, Crab Shows Don't Care, that is like
Yeah.
when Billy's soloing. I love the
Yeah.
way you comp, and this is thinking for the song, right? And I was gonna ask you, you know, today we have so many thousands guitarists from Instagram playing ultra speedy stuff. Do you think that we are losing a little bit the concept that we have to focus more on the song and not on the technique and speed? You know.
Well, I don't know. I mean, you know, for one thing, you know, like coming from a blues and rhythm and blues background, you know, there's a real attention to doing, of course, what's right for the moment, for the moment, and you know, there's different ways of viewing it. You know, the whole rhythm guitar thing. Like I think about, if you think of a band like Snarky Puppy or the Fearless Flyers, it's different. You know, it's like, it's a, you know, everything is played kind of the same way. You know, you establish one rhythm and then there you go. And, you know, even that for me, it's like not quite, that's serving the song, but it kind of boils the song down to 8 bars. So, you know, for me, that, you know, playing rhythm, you know, my style comes more out of like piano and organ. You know, it's like in jazz, you know, it isn't one thing over and over and over again. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So everything is like, you know, evolutionary. You know, like I like not knowing what's going to happen next, and therefore there's room for things to change. And I'll establish something. It's like, this feels good right here, right now, and then open it up and change it, you know, and move into some other mode. So that kind of flexibility, you know, I don't hear a lot of it out there.
Mm-hmm.
Do you?
No, well, I think that today there's too much obsession for the show-off part of music, not only
Yeah.
in guitarists, in general, like in the mainstream music, everything is like visual,
Mm-hmm.
show off, everything is a show.
Yeah.
But and the music is the less important thing right now. So that's
Yeah.
yeah.
Has been for a while, I think.
Yes. You know, I was thinking, as you mentioned, you have learned a lot from listening and probably transcribing and learning solos from horn players, trumpet players, but you have had the chance to work with the greatest guitarists ever, from George Harrison, Larry Carlton, Calvin Hayden, Mike Landau. What did you learn from playing with all these great guitarists?
Well, everybody's different. Everybody is different, you know. And I don't know that I learned anything from any of them. I don't want to learn anything from a guitar player.
But we always learn. I mean, even if you don't
Yeah,
want,
but
you
I
probably
never
learn things.
I never learned anything, you know, from playing with another guitar player.
Wow. That's quite a phrase and a statement.
You know, because again, like I don't want to sound like another guitar player. You know, you sound like who you listen to.
Mm-hmm.
So I have avoided listening to guitar players most of my life. I don't really listen to guitar players, you know.
Mm-hmm. But I think I read once that you told that when you heard the first time Mick Bloomfield, you decided to, I want to be a guitarist. So
Oh, Mike Bloomfield,
yeah,
sure.
yeah,
I mean, I was 13,
yeah,
and yeah, Mike Bloomfield, Eric Clapton,
yeah,
those two guys, were very influential. B.B. King, you know. I mean, so it's a different period in my life. I was a kid and I was coming up. But by my late teens and early 20s, I was listening strictly to jazz, saxophone players, trumpet. I
mhm,
I stopped listening to guitar players a long time ago.
mhm. Oh, recently I talked also with Walter Truth, and he told me also about that Mick Bloomfield was a changing point. In
Oh yeah, I mean,
he's a
that's my
great,
guy. Everything. Mike Bloomfield's ground zero.
yeah, wow. And I want to ask you, you have done many sessions in your life playing with other artists. Right now, you still doing that, or you just pretty just doing like things like your new CD or?
Well, I was never really a studio guitar player in the same way, that a lot of my peers were. But I have done a fair amount of recording with other people. It's kind of rare, for me. I'm living in Paris now, and people are getting in touch with me, to perform here and there. And I'm doing a recording session in August for someone, but it's not, I'm not in any way busy doing recording sessions.
Mhm. Yeah, so you have more time to do your own stuff, compose,
Yeah,
and enjoy life. You are in
yeah,
Paris, you have to go out in
yeah.
the city.
It's about the life.
Yeah. And about your teaching, you're also, I read that I saw you created this Robben Ford Guitar Dojo. What can you tell
Hmm.
us about?
Well, thank you for asking, because it's very important to me now. Uh, yeah, the Robben Ford Guitar Dojo. It is an instructional site with a tremendous amount of content. Um, there's a beginning course, an intermediate course. There's a rhythm guitar course. We do a live Zoom hang every 2 weeks. So we hang out with each other, and anybody can ask questions or like that. We have something called Story Hour, which is me telling stories about, my time with George Harrison, my time with Miles Davis, Greg Allman, things like that. And more. It's hard for me to even think. There's something called no talking. I just sit down and we just record, we just little simple video of me just playing something, a groove or whatever, I really like that. Riffs, there's a riff part to the thing. It's just like, okay, here's a guitar riff. And I mean, there are 60 of them on there already. It's one every week, here's a new riff, here's a new riff. But there's so much on there, man. So it's been, I'm really proud of it. It's a subscription base, and it's very inexpensive for the amount of content that we provide. It's cheap at half the price.
Well, I congratulate you because for me personally, when I started playing guitars like 3 years ago, my first great guitarist was a great blues guitar player in Barcelona. He was one of the guys that would play with all the jazz players, and at that time there were not so many people. And he was a huge fan of yourself, and I got your blues guitar method from the beginning, and then I have been using it with so many students. Now I'm a teacher and stuff.
Nice.
And I think that is so great. The first solo that is like 4 blues bar takes is like incredible. So
fantastic.
Thank you, because I use it all the time.
I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to ask you. About the teaching. Okay. What else? Yeah, this is probably a stupid question, but for me it's fun because I grew up listening to a lot of hard rock and stuff. And I just preparing the interview, I realized that you recorded 2 songs in the Kiss album "Creatures of the Night," and I went straight to. How do you remember that? How the story came out? You know.
Well, I actually really enjoyed it. You know, I spent a lot of time with Paul Simmons and or Gene Simmons and Paul Stanley. They were the 2 guys, you know, who were really, you know, running the show there. It was all overdubs, you know, for me. And my memory of it, I was there for many days, you know, like I would go in the evening and work with Gene for the most part, doing guitar solos on different tracks. And those guys spent a long time doing everything, a lot of time, you know. And so I played on many, many songs, and I wound up, you know, I'm on 2 on that record. I Still Love You and Rock and Roll Hell.
Yeah.
And so I enjoyed myself, you know. I spent a lot of time with Gene, and you know, he's kind of entertaining.
Yeah, he must
you
be.
know? You know, we had no problems, you know, whatsoever. And the music was awfully loud, you know. And I just remember, you know, basically enjoying myself. I just did my thing. I played like I play. And it was cool. I'm glad that happened, you know. Interesting. It's the only time I've ever done anything like that, you know, like serious rock band thing, you know.
Yeah, that shocked me. And also something that I thought was pretty cool. There was a concert you were doing in like a big stadium, and you were trading solos with Carlos Santana.
Oh yeah,
and it was so cool.
yeah.
How
Well,
was hanging
with
with
Miles
him?
Davis. That's with Miles Davis.
Yeah, I
right?
know it was Miles. Yeah. No,
Yeah,
I know it's with Miles Davis, but I found
yeah.
it
He was
funny
sitting
because
in. Yeah, it was fun. Carlos was really nice. I just remember him being really nice. Got me a cigarette. It's like, you want a cigarette, man? He goes and gets me a cigarette. It was funny. And we've had a couple of experiences like that. He's always been super kind to me, you know, really cool toward me. It was nice, you know, that day. Miles dug it, you know, and yeah, it was fun.
That's nice. I
You know,
really
Jordi, I
wanted.
have to wrap it up here in about 1 minute.
Okay. That's don't worry. Well, it's been a great pleasure meeting
Thank
you
you,
and the
Jordi.
interview, and thanks so much. And hopefully we can see you in Spain with Bill Evans presenting the album. Let's hope.
I look forward to that. Definitely.
Okay. Thank you so much.
All right, Jordi. Thanks, man.
Bye. Take care.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.